Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. The two of us are finally in the same place after like 19 months of not seeing each other. So we are actually able to film some videos together. One of the videos that we did want to film is a round 2 of the Shelf Sisters series. If you are unaware of those videos, I will link the original one down below where we introduced it way back at the beginning of 2020. Basically, the idea of this video is that we look at each other's bookshelves and I choose 3 books that Les already owns for her to read. And then you do the same for me, and we kind of give ourselves a particular timeline and say, you need to read these books by this date, and it's just a way to get us to just pick up books that we maybe just keep pushing farther and farther down the line on our TBR. But it's also nice because it's already books that you own.
It's like getting a gift, but you already have the gift. So you already know you're gonna like it.
Yeah, I guess.
And it sort of shapes your reading for the year. Because if if I pick out a book for you and you're like, oh, that was good, I want to read more things like that, it could send you on a different path.
Yeah.
And pushes you through your TBR in a different way.
There's just something nice about being told to read a book that you already have rather than somebody handing you a brand new book and being like, you need to read this when you don't necessarily know about it and you already have 80 books on your TBR. Like me. All that being said, we really liked doing that first round. The video definitely turned out a bit differently than we were originally expecting because we thought we would come back together the following Christmas and sort of do a wrap-up of that, but COVID changed those plans, and so it kind of got extended, and we're just sort of letting that one be and just moving on to do round 2 because it was fun. So same premise as last time, 3 books, and you have to do a review about each of them. I think our timeline will be approximately a year. We might do Christmas, like not this upcoming Christmas, but the next Christmas. So it could be like
a year and a half.
A year and a half. It really just, it's hard to make solid plans these days anymore. You just don't know what the world is gonna do. Right. So that's what we're thinking.
So don't plan. The first book that I picked for Rebecca is Atlantic. Great sea battles, heroic discoveries, titanic storms, that's a word choice, and a vast ocean of a million stories by Simon Winchester. And I chose this because Rebecca likes nonfiction. And last time around, I read In the Heart of the Sea, which is a book about the ocean and ships. And so I saw that she had this, and I said, I like oceans and ships, so I'm going to have Rebecca read a book about oceans and ships. So she'll be reading this. This is, apparently it's a biography, a little bit, of a tremendous space that has been central to the ambitions of explorers, scientists, and warriors, and continues profoundly to affect our character, attitudes, and dreams.
Yeah, it's a biography of the Atlantic Ocean.
Amazing. So you're going to get to read that.
Yes.
Have fun learning about boats and oceans. Let me know what you learn.
I believe you did say something along the lines of, tell me all the interesting things that you learn when you're reading it. So I will let you know if I find anything in here that I really find that you should know.
Well, I should know all of it.
You won't know all of it. That's a lot of stuff in here.
Right, I know, but I think I would be interested in all of it. Why don't you just recite the book to me?
Oh, I'll just read it out loud to you.
Just read the book to me when you're done.
How romantic. The first book that I picked out for Les is F. Scott Fitzgerald's Tender is the Night. We both read The Great Gatsby in school, and I really enjoyed that book, but I've never read any of his other books, and you obviously have this on your shelf, and I was curious as to what you were going to think of it, and see if it's worth my time too. So that's why I picked this one out. I really don't know what it is about. Like, it's one of those books that you hear about all the time, but I never hear a synopsis of it. It's just like a title that pops up.
I gave the back a read before I brought it up, and I think it's set in France. And
French Riviera. That's good for you. That's good for you.
I've tried to read some other F. Scott Fitzgerald, and it's just never really worked out all that well. So hopefully this will be one that I enjoy. I hope to not DNF this book. Am I allowed to do that?
I did push through Edgar Sawtelle.
All right, okay.
And that was a chunky book.
Okay, fair.
This is a lot smaller, so I feel like you could probably do it. But I mean, where would you say you were on the scale of Great Gatsby in terms of just like absolutely loving it? And
well, it was a different time, and I've read it a few times since then. I mean, it was great in the way that everybody like thinks that The Great Gatsby is great, though. So we'll see.
Yeah, I hope.
We all know that Zelda is the better writer. We get it.
Hopefully, this will at least, yeah, be worth your time.
I think it will be good. I think that it's an interesting plot. I think it's actually kind of a similar plot in a way. We'll see. I'm sure it will be fine. The next book that I chose for Rebecca is Susan Orlean's The Library Book. Again, another book that I chose based on things that I like that Rebecca had on her shelf. This is a beautiful book, and this is kind of the story of a specific library, but also about all libraries at the same time. It's a story about a fire, and it's nonfiction, and it's going to be great, and it feels really cool. It feels like a tome.
It's a really nice edition of that book.
Yeah, this is the hardcover. I'm sorry I put it on my chin. This is the hardcover version. It's going to be beautiful. I'm very excited for you to read this and tell me everything you know.
Yeah, I'm also excited for this. People's original impressions of this book, it seems, is that they expected to be all about this specific fire that happened in the Los Angeles Public Library in the 1980s, but upon further reading, it goes much farther than that, talking about libraries in general, so we will see. I do have high hopes for it, though.
In essence, I've picked 2 nonfiction books that I want you to read so that you can tell me about the content.
Yeah.
Like
well, with this one, I feel like you could potentially
I'm going to read it eventually.
Yeah, like you would read this one, so I don't want to tell you everything. But I can at least be like, yes, you should totally read this. It's worth your time.
That's fair.
The second book that I chose for you is nonfiction. So since Les is definitely a more fiction reader, we did 2 fiction books and 1 nonfiction for you. So the second book is The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. This is a very well-known book. I feel like it's definitely popped up on BookTube, but it didn't blow up on BookTube. It blew up in the general public, and so that's why I'm aware of it. My mom read this book, and she doesn't read a ton of books, so when she actually puts in the time and the effort to read a relatively chunky book, you know that it's going to be pretty good. And yeah, the Gila cells, I guess is what they're referred to. There's a huge history behind here, and it's going to be very frustrating, definitely an abuse of Henrietta Lacks and her family by the system. And so it'll be angering, I'm sure, but also provide a lot of very interesting scientific and historical information.
I might read this with my book club. We'll see. I've been thinking about it for a while. Ooh, there are pictures.
Always a bonus.
I love a good photograph. I hadn't actually opened this until now. I got this at a book sale. I have a feeling the book club's going to read this book.
I think it'd be a good one. It's a little chunky for a book club, honestly.
I mean, but I feel like this is narrative nonfiction. I feel like that's what I've been led to understand.
It's probably more readable than some other nonfictions out there, for sure.
And then the last book is a book we're actually going to read together because we discovered that we both owned a copy of it. And that's Zadie Smith's On Beauty in these 2 strikingly different looking editions. But I believe this is about a Bostonian family, and it's just very classic Zadie Smith. This is, I think, one of her first few books.
I feel like you'll probably have an easier time with this than I will, just because this seems like a little more literary fiction than I generally tend to lean towards. I've never read any of her fiction. I did read her nonfiction.
Her essays?
Her essays, yeah, earlier this year. So we'll see. And technically we should switch, because this is my edition and that's her edition.
To be fair, I got mine on the side of the road. So.
And I got mine at a library book sale, so.
Reduce, reuse, recycle, restore. I think it's going to be great.
Hopefully we'll get it timed right so we can film a review together. Yeah. At the future, maybe we can aim for Christmas this year. We'll see. Try to have it done by then. But.
Maybe we'll even film it together.
Exactly. That would be the goal, is to be able to film a review of this together. And that is the books that we're going to be reading for the Shelf Sisters series round 2. If you have any thoughts on any of the books that we talked about, feel free to share them in the comments down below. As always, all of our links are in the down bar. You can go check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching. And now we bring this video to a close.